Hey there, folks. Today we are diving into a lesser-known aspect of the Apostle Paul's life. Now, we all know Paul as the tireless missionary, the writer of many New Testament letters, and the guy who had that dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus. But did you know that Paul also made tents? Yep, you heard that right. The Apostle Paul, the man who spread Christianity far and wide, was also a tent maker. Now, imagine this. Paul, the great apostle, sitting in his workshop, stitching away at a tent. Picture him with a needle and thread, maybe a little leather apron, and some fabric spread out before him. It's quite the image, isn't it? You might be wondering, why tents? Well, let's dive into it. In Acts chapter 18, verses 1 through 3, we read that Paul met a couple named Aquila and Priscilla in Corinth. They were tent makers by trade, and Paul, being the practical guy he was, joined them in their work. It was a way for him to support himself while he was preaching the gospel. After all, even apostles have to eat, right? Now, let's think about the practicalities of this. Paul is out there spreading the word of God, but he's also got to make a living. So he sets up shop and starts making tents. Imagine someone coming up to him and saying, "Hey, Paul, I need a tent for my family. Can you make one that's big enough for 5 people and a goat?" And Paul, ever the multitasker, replies, "Sure thing. By the way, have you heard about Jesus Christ?" It's a brilliant strategy, really. Paul gets to meet people from all walks of life, and while he's working on their tents, he gets to share the gospel with them. It's like the ancient equivalent of a modern-day side hustle, but with a divine twist. And let's not forget the quality of these tents. I mean, if you're getting a tent made by the Apostle Paul, you know it's going to be top-notch. I can just imagine the marketing slogan, "Tents by Paul, sturdy enough for the wilderness, holy enough for the heavens." But seriously, Paul's tent making wasn't just about making a living, it was about connecting with people. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 19 through 23, Paul talks about becoming all things to all people so that by all possible means he might save some. By working as a tent maker, Paul was able to relate to the everyday struggles of the people he was trying to reach. He wasn't some distant, unapproachable figure. He was right there in the thick of it, working with his hands, just like everyone else. And think about the conversations that must have happened in that workshop. People coming in to order a tent and leaving with a newfound faith. Paul's tent making was a way for him to build relationships, to earn trust, and to share the gospel in a very practical, down-to-earth way. So, the next time you think about the Apostle Paul, don't just picture him preaching to crowds or writing letters from prison. Picture him in his workshop, needle and thread in hand, stitching away at a tent. Picture him chatting with customers, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ while he works. It's a reminder that ministry can happen anywhere, even in the most unexpected places. And who knows? Maybe the next time you're setting up a tent for a camping trip, you'll think of Paul and his tents. Maybe you'll be inspired to share a little bit of the gospel with the people around you. After all, if Paul could do it while making tents, surely we can find ways to do it in our everyday lives too. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Until next time, keep spreading the good news, one tent at a time.